In this video, I'm going to show you how to properly install the GAF Pro Start starter shingles. So this is a GAF Pro Starter shingle pack. Let's open up the pack and see what we find. Usually when you find starter shingles, they're going to come like this. This is actually two separate pieces of shingles. You don't need a knife or anything else separated. All that needs to be done is a light fold. There's already like a crease on the middle. I like to fold it once and another time the opposite way, and it literally just breaks right off. The most important part of a starter shingle is this adhesive tab right here. This is gonna be towards the bottom side, towards the outside edge, and what that adhesive tab is gonna do is gonna prevent your shingles from lifting up in the wind, and that's the most important thing about a starter shingle. It's that, as well as waterproofing the seams, the butt joints between the first row of shingles. So the first thing you wanna do is verify what type of shingle you're using and see how far you have to cut the first strip of starter shingle that you're putting. What I mean by that, if you're using a full shingle as your first piece, you can see they almost line up. So the last thing you want to do is have your joint an inch away, inch and a half away from the first edge of the starter strip. So what you're going to want to do, what GAF starter shingles call for, is cutting the starter strip 3 inches from the edge so that your joint will be far away and these two won't align. Per manufacturer recommendations, I'm going to be cutting a 3-inch strip off here. You don't have to measure, you can eyeball it, because being off a 1/4 or 1/2 inch is fine. If you want to be precise, you can always measure it, but again, usually on the field, we're just eyeballing this and going from there. So you can see we just threw 3 inches off here. This way, when we install our first starter shingle, we're gonna have the right pattern. And again, that's the most important thing to watch for. Now, to install the starter shingle, the first thing you do is align it with the edge of the drip head. Now, you don't wanna nail it here. The manufacturer calls for a 1/2 inch to 3/4 out. So depending on how you like to pattern your shingles, you can do that. I usually use just a finger width and then use that as a guide on both edges. What you're gonna wanna do is nail one end in first. Once that's aligned, you can now pivot this edge to get it to where you want. And now we've got 2 nails. You want to be anywhere from 1 inch to 3 inches in from the outside edge. Then we're going to be placing nails. GAF calls for a nail every 10 to 12 inches. Again, we're going to eyeball these. Once we got the first one in place, what I like to do is always align the butt end, because we know exactly where that should be. Once you align those relatively straight, we'll put one nail on this side, align this edge. Then again, we're doing nails every 10 to 12 inches, approximately 1.5 inches up. You essentially want to be right above the starter adhesive right there. Now let's say you're going up a rake. Let's imagine there's a rake right here and you want to go up vertically. What GAF requires and what I recommend is having a minimum of a 3-inch overlap between the two starter shingles. What you don't want to do is align it with the top. The reason is now you're leaving a wide gap that essentially you're going to have no adhesive strip. The idea is to get this as close as possible. You really can bring it down even further. I would recommend coming as close as this and then continue the same nailing pattern about 1.5 inches up from the edge, and then 1.5 inches down from here, and going 10 to 12 inches from there. Now that we've got our starter shingle installed, you can start installing your shingles. You can watch our video specifically on how to install shingles, but what I want to point out here is the reason for cutting this back. When we come to install our shingles, we're going to install it flush with the edge right there. You can see we have a good 4-inch overlap right here. What you want to make sure is that this overlap is at least 4 to 5 inches and you're not landing on a nail. You can see right here we have one nail here and another nail here. Our shingle is pretty much coming right in the middle. What you don't want to do is have your shingle finish right here, which will mean you have a chance of rusting right there, and then you have a chance of water getting in under here. So regardless of what starter shingle or what shingle you use, the concept remains the same. Make sure that there's a proper overlap, the nailing pattern is the same, and use starter shingles instead of using upside down shingles. I know that's a big controversy, but don't be cheap. It's a few extra dollars. You can watch our video on why it's so important, but I truly believe that installing the right components will make sure that you have a long-lasting roof and that the entire system works as a whole.